This week we're going to be reading Parshas Bamidbar, and I'd like to share with you some very, very important and classic ideas from the Parsha. And we begin with the Netziv, his Akdama, and his introduction to Sefer Bamidbar. And the Netziv tells us something very important and very fundamental in what Sefer Bamidbar really is all about. The Netziv begins as follows, right here on line 1. Zah Sefer Nikra b'Mishnah Yoma u'b'Fiat Tana Rabbi Chanina ben Gamliel b'Sota Chumash HaPikudim. In Chazal, in Shas, the names that we actually refer to the Sfarim are not exactly the same. For example, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah says that Sefer Breshis is referred to as Sefer Hayashar, and Sefer Shmos is either Sefer HaSheni or Sefer HaGeula, and Torah's Kohanim is Sefer Vayikra, and Bamidbar, even though we call it Bamidbar, and as an aside, the first word is Bimidbar, not Bamidbar, but that's a different discussion. In any event, Sefer Bamidbar in Chazal is referred to as Chumash HaPikudim, which ironically is the way it's referred to in English as numbers. And V'kach Kosev Bahag, not only does the Mishnah refer to it as such, as Chumash HaPikudim, the book of numbers, the book of counting, but the Bahag, also, the Baal Halachas Gedolos, one of the earliest Sifrei Halacha that we have, also refers to it as Chumash HaPikudim. V'nirsham b'das Rabboseinu, inyan shnei HaPikudim shebazah sefer. And what the reason that Chazal called it Chumash HaPikudim is because in Sefer Bamidbar, there are two census. There are two times that Klal Yisrael is counted. They're counted in this week's Parsha of Parshas Bamidbar, and towards the end of Sefer Bamidbar in Parshas Pinchas, there's another count. There's another census of the Jewish people. In year number 40, Sefer Bamidbar is the Sefer of transition. The first few Parshios occur during the second year from Yetzias Mitzrayim. They're not exactly in chronological order. According to some Rishonim, there's a whole discussion about Bamidbar and when it happened, as the first pasuk tells us, and later on we have the Nisim, which happened on Aleph Nisan. That's, again, another discussion. But this all happened in the second year after Yetzias Mitzrayim, up until and including the Meraglim and Korach towards the end of the Sefer. When we get to Parshas Chukas, we have the first section of Parshas Chukas is the Paraduma. That's the first section, first Parsha of the Sedra of Chukas, and then immediately is the death of Miriam, which happened in the 40th year. And it's the book of transition, the 38 years that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did not communicate with Klal Yisrael, with Moshe Rabbeinu, etc. And then from Chukas on till the end of Sefer Dvarim, it's the last few weeks. So Sefer Dvarim is the last 6 weeks of Moshe's life. And Sefer Bamidbar happens also in the last few months of in year number 40. In any event, there are two senses in Sefer Bamidbar, here in Parshas Bamidbar and in Parshas Pinchas. Okay? So again, says the Netziv, they have called this the book of numbers, the book of the census, the book of counting, more than any other of the events that happened in this parsha. There are very significant events that happen in Sefer Bamidbar, as he says, the Meraglim and Bilam, Korach, etc. But it's the census that is how we designate the name of the Sefer. Mishum de Iker Zeh Sefer hu hamachlif umishana halichos am Hashem b'chai olam me'oz she'egiu la'eretz Yisrael min haderech sheholchu Bamidbar. He says why? Because the essence of Sefer Bamidbar, the overall theme, the overall concept of Sefer Bamidbar is, as the word that I used a few moments ago, it is the book of transition. It's the Sefer of transition. They are leaving Eretz, they are leaving Mitzrayim, they're in the Midbar, and they are going to Eretz Yisrael. And he says, this book is the book of transition, the book of change, as they are going from Am Hashem B'chaye Ha'olam, as they live, Me'osh She'egil Eretz Yisrael, until they get to Eretz Yisrael, Min HaDerech Shalchu Bamidbar, on the path that they went in the Midbar. Shabamidbar, in the desert, the first few years, the first 38 years, as a matter of fact, Hayu Misnagim B'midas Tif Eres, they are being led in a situation of actual glory, so to speak. Shahalach Yamin Moshe, they are going to the right of Moshe. Okay, from the time they left Mitzrayim, in Yamsuf, in Matan Torah, until the Meraglim, the Jewish people are traveling on a plane, not an airplane, but on a plane, which is, as we would say it, and he'll say it in a minute, is Lamala Min HaTeva. Shehu Lagamre Lamala Mehalichas HaTeva. They're going in a supernatural way. The Nisim, and they're being sustained with the Man and Amalek and all the other events that occurred in the Midbar are Lamala Min HaTeva, or are supernatural. Uba Eretz Yisrael, and as they will enter the land of Israel, Holchu B'terech HaTeva, B'sisrei Hashkachas Malchus Shamayim Baruch Hu, and it's going to be a natural lifestyle, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu being in the background, so to speak, Kavayachal. Okay, V'zeh Hashinui Hischil Odam B'midbar B'shnas Ha'abarim. And it wasn't an immediate switch that from today we're going to leave the supernatural and tomorrow it's going to be natural. No, it had to be a gradual transition. And it happened through the year, in the 40th year. And as the Netziv says, I will explain to you later on in the Sefer, in Parshas Chukas, at the point of transition here in Psukim Hey and Chet to Ches in Perek Chaf, which maybe we'll see in a few weeks. Al pizeh hashinu nasa mochamos Yisrael lemaknani sichon b'derech hateva, and there will be battles that will be fought by the Jewish people in the 40th year, and they will be natural battles. Again, they had a battle in the first year, and that battle was with Amalek. That was a supernatural fight. Moshe Rabbeinu is holding his hands up, and they are being successful. They are being successful. Now they have to actually fight in a natural form, in a natural way, with Sichon and with the Canaan. V'gam hamata lo haya od biyad Moshe tamid. The mata, Moshe's staff, which was supernatural, so to speak, that also was not as apparent in the 40th year as it was in the first year of since Yitzias Mitzrayim. It was when it was necessary. That's when the staff came into being, like with the rock, and that is again a totally another discussion. But nevertheless, that's the point that he's making. As I explained there in Parshas Chukas. And that's what Chazal tell us. If you look in Breshis Rabbah, the Medrash tells us that the first few psukim of Sefer Breshis is a remez to the 5 books of the Torah. And it says that the pasuk Vayavdel Elokim bein ha'or ve'in ha'choshech zeh Sefer Bamidbar. That phrase that HaKadosh Baruch Hu separated between light and darkness is a remez to Sefer Bamidbar. Shahu Mavdil, why? What's the separation between the Or and the Choshech? Shahu Mavdil ben Yotzei Mitzrayim uvein Ba'ei Aretz. Because there will be a separation, there'll be a tremendous distinction, like the distinction between day and night, between light and dark, with those that left Mitzrayim, the door of the Yotzei Mitzrayim, and the door that's entering Eretz Yisrael. Ubahalichos Yotzei Mitzrayim hayaor hashkachas Hashem lafilei kol. The light of Hashem Hashgacha was apparent to all. Shu kvod Hashem b'tachlis habriya, which was the glory of Hashem, the honor of Hashem, the purpose of creation, as we've explained in the past. Masha ein kein bahalichos b'ay aretz, as opposed to those who are entering the land. Haisa Hashgacha mechusa. The Hashgacha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was hidden, was covered. You got to look. You got to see. You gotta investigate it and see it clearly, and then you would be able to see the hashgacha. But it was hidden. It wasn't out in the open. It wasn't apparent to all. Kimo haholik b'chashkas halayla, like it's walking in the dark. You can walk in the dark, but it's much harder to see. You have to really. You can look carefully when you're walking in the dark, as opposed to walking when it's light. Orak leprakim. Near Geshes Hashgach Lein Kol Kamo Ora Barak Hameres Kashkas Alayla. There are some times when you can see when it's light at night. For example, if there's lightning, if there's certain circumstances, then we can see light in the darkness. So there are some times that there'll be light in the darkness when we could see the Hashgacha, but not all the time. He says, I want to tell you, where do we see this difference between the Yotzei Mitzrayim and those that are coming into Eretz Yisrael? It's in the two senses that the Torah is going to describe in Sefer Bamidbar. And it's different based on the Klal Yisrael, the makeup of Klal Yisrael. If you look at the census here in Parshas Bamidbar, you see they are counted the way they are encamped around the Mishkan with the flags, the four sides, that again, the encampment of Klal Yisrael as they surround the Shechina. Vayafrayim Rosh Hadegel v'Kodem Menashe, and Ephraim was the leader, and he was before Menashe. V'lo chen b'pkudei Parshas Pinchas b'shnas Arbaim. But if you look in Parshas Pinchas, you will see that it was different. The counting over there was in a different form, literally, and also you'll see other differences. Kamosha Kasavdi Bifnim, as I will explain there in Parshas Pinchas. V'od the Pekudei Parshas Bamidbar haya Roshim Mechrachim Lias Mosa HaShevet. V'lokein haya Pekudei Parshas Pinchas K'moshe Kasavdi B'fnim. Shemachi Roshim Ze Inyan Ma'od Ad Shero Chazal Likro Shem LaHaSefer Chumash HaPikudim. Also, who were the ones who were in charge of the counting? Here in Sefer Bamidbar, in Parshas Bamidbar, were the leaders of the Shevet. That's not the way it was in Parshas Pinchas, in the counting in Parshas Pinchas, as he again will explain later on. So you see there are major differences between the counting here and the counting there, and that is exactly to show that this is the transition from L'mala min hateva to a lifestyle of living under the rules of nature, so to speak. And therefore he concludes by saying, the Alpiza Hakavana Amru Chazal, that's the pshat in what Chazal have told us. Gemara in Masechah Shabbos, that tells us that the section Vayhi ben Soah Ha'aron, and for those that are Baalei Kriya, you know that in the Sefer, it's also in the Chumash, there are upside down nuns that surround that section of Vayhi ben Soah Ha'aron. The Sefer Torah, there's an upside down nun between those two psukim, and the Gemara in Masechah Shabbos really tells us that despite the fact that we call it Chamisha Chumshei Torah, there are 5 Chumashim, but in fact there should really be 7. There is Breishis, Shmos, Vayikra, Bamidbar, up until Vayhi ben Soah. There is Vayhi ben Soah, that's number 5. And then there's the rest of Sefer Bamidbar, which is number 6. And then Sefer Dvarim is number 7. So they're really not Chamisha Chumshei Torah, but technically there are 7 Chamisha Chumshei Torah. So the Gemara, so the Netziv says, why is that a sefer b'fnei atzmo? What is the significance of that? To teach us, ki kasher hascholas hashinu hayamin v'yiyam k'misonin. He says, where did the transition begin? Even though we've explained, and Siv himself, we've explained that the transition happened in year 40, he said, it started to change already in year 38. Already there was something here. They're no longer al pi hateva. They no longer appreciate living in a lifestyle that is l'mala min hateva, that's supernatural. Vayhiyam kamis onanim. They're complainers. They don't like the mun, they don't like this, they don't like that. They're complainers. Ki b'shvil shehis nahagu b'midas tiferes nemshu miyanachar shechatu. They're supposed to be on a level of tiferes, of glory, of l'malam min hateva, and they start complaining, so they get punished right away, as the Torah there will tell us in Parshas Bahaloscha. Ki hayatzel hashgacha yad minam. The shadow of the hashgacha is right there on their right side. They're basking in the shadow of the Ribbono Shel Olam. The dovers hayakash aleim lisbol, but they couldn't handle it. At shegarim l'shliach hameraglim, which is what caused them to send meraglim. We have to send meraglim to check out, can we overpower the inhabitants of the land? Well, what do you have to send meraglim for if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is taking care of you and you're living in a supernatural life? But they couldn't tolerate the supernatural life. Kasher Yuvah Reish Parshas B'Shalach. Again, as the Netziv says, this is an introduction, so he's telling you the coming events of what's going to happen. So he says, I'm going to tell you over there why they had to send the meraglim. And that was the beginning of the end, or the beginning of the transition, of the change from having a lifestyle which is l'malam min hateva, supernatural, and going to a more of a natural type of lifestyle. Kasher Yavu Hashem, as I'll explain there. Imkain Parsha Ketanazu, this small parsha, these two psukim of Vahi ben Soh Haron, He hamachlekes ben shnei ofnei alichas haYisrael. It is the breaking point of the two types of action. He says halichos Yisrael, the way the Jewish people are traveling, they're walking, the way they're actually living. That each is a sefer of ne'atzmo. Up until Vahi ben Saron, it's l'malam min hateva. The change is Vahi ben Saron at the misonanim, at that parsha, and then it goes downhill, so to speak, from there. Kemo zahiluch, that as they were walking. Husayim zatzmo zahiluch, and that's a sefer, and then it continues going. Husayim mifnei atzmo. They're separate svarim. Moshe Kasafti, as I explained over there, is a sefer sipur inyan gadol nikra sefer, because a major story is called a sefer. I've explained that in Breshis. Go back and look at that. It's an unbelievable thought that the Netziv tells us here. He's explaining to us that Sefer Bamidbar is the Sefer of transition, and that's why it's called Sefer HaPikudim, because the counting, the census, is indicative of that idea. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, in his explanation, in his commentary to Sefer Bamidbar, comments on the first pasuk in the parsha. The parsha tells us that there was a census, and as the parsha goes on, it's going to tell us that Klal Yisrael will be counted, and there will be a mitzvah that's coming up in the middle of the parsha, which is the Degalim. It's the flags, and they're going to march. The Klal Yisrael is going to march through the flags that they will have a mitzvah to create and to put up as their symbol. Says Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, another fascinating, important, and basic idea. Hine, haminyan hazeh kinira miseder hashvatim, shemona esgara haruven v'shimon hayabiyichod k'dei l'sader inyan ha'gedalim. He says, and the Netziv alluded to this too, that the order that the shvatim are counted is not chronological, not by birth, but it is the way they're encamped around the Mishkan, the Seder HaDegalim, the order of the flags, the order of marching. Ulechor Tamua, says the Rav Yaakov, he says, I have a question. We know as Klal Yisrael left Mitzrayim, they left Al Tzivosam, which will translate as the way they were marching through their armies, through their hosts, so to speak. Ukidechsiv, as the pasuk says in Parshas B'Shalach, before Kriyas Yamsuf, as they're leaving Mitzrayim, Uvenei Yisrael Yotzim B'Yad Ramah, the Jewish people are going out with a raised hand. V'chein Chamushim B'nei Yisrael, they're going out armed, as the translation of a Chamushim is. So says Rav Yaakov, Harei Shelo Yotzim Ke'avadim Aborchim Me'ad Meir. Klal Yisrael, when they left Mitzrayim, they weren't going as slaves escaping from their masters. They're going ka'am chashi, as free people. They're going as the nation of Israel. They're going as Klal Yisrael, as a free, proud people. Yad Ramah, va'amai, yamtinu milasader sa'ad golim shana tamima. So if they're going out, they're marching as an army. They're marching as a strong nation. Then put the flags up right away. You're parading out of Mitzrayim. Hold your flags up high. Be proud. Why did they wait a year in order to put up the flags? Asma, I'm curious. Says Rav Yaakov, an unbelievably important idea. Ella. If you think about it, the concept of the flags, concept of a flag is my flag is different than your flag. It is to identify Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda. Levi didn't have a flag. Ruvain, Shimon, and give them a flag. It's to distinguish them. Ruvain, this is who Ruvain is. This is who Shimon is, etc. Each shevet has its own personality, its own goal, its own way of doing things. They were all unique individuals. Each one of the shevet was unique from another one. And the goal of this shevet is different than that shevet. And the way this shevet does is not the shevet that this shevet is. We've said over and over that the Jewish people are not monolithic. Ruvain is not Shimon, and Shimon is not Zvulun, and Yisachar is not Asher, and Gad is not Naphtali. They're different, and they have different goals, and they have different positions within Klal Yisrael. And that's what the Degel represents. They're all a different part, a unique individual part of Klal Yisrael. And the distinction between each one of the Shvatim is indicative by these flags. But they all have there's one centrality to the flags. And they're all encamping around the Mishkan. That doesn't cause much of a distinction. In other words, we all have our uniqueness, but we all are encamped around the one thing that unites us, and that's the Mishkan. I have my job around the Mishkan. You have your job around the Mishkan. He has his job around the Mishkan. We all have our own individual responsibilities and individual tasks, but we are all in it together, surrounding the Mishkan, guarding the Mishkan, being part of what the Mishkan represents. Kamo ba'adam. And he says it's similar in each and every one of us, each and every human being. What does he mean? The fact that your ears were created to hear, and your eyes to see, is there going to be a machlokas between your eyes and your ears and your mouth? Well, they have different functions, but they're all part of the human body. But there's no machlokas, they're all part of you. It should be the same way in the nation. They're all surrounding one point, one centrality. There shouldn't be any worry for any machlokas. So when can we be rest assured that there shouldn't be any machlokas? When that centrality is there. But before that central point is there, we don't have that unifying thing. And therefore, Kol Zman Shelo Hukam HaMishkan, as long as the Mishkan wasn't put up yet, And there wasn't a central spiritual place for us to be. Then we're all only one, and we have one flag, because we don't have that central thing that will unite us together. However, after the Mishkan was put up, now we don't have to worry about having each person go their separate way, because the Mishkan, which is here now, is the unifying factor for Klal Yisrael. Since the Mishkan was put up now in the second year, on Rosh Chodesh Nisan of the second year, so now what can we do? So now, once the Mishkan is up, we can immediately be misasek in the Degalim in the Chodesh Hasheni, Bashana Hashenis, in the second year, Benachon. And that's the right shot. Let's briefly look at the Ksav Sofer here. The Ksav Sofer is referring to a medrash, that the medrash tells us that the Torah was given in 3 ways, in B'mayim, Ba'esh, Bamidbar. It's a medrash at the beginning of Sefer Bamidbar. Since the Torah says, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe B'midbar Sinai, the medrash says with 3 things the Torah was given: with water, with fire, and in a desert. So the Ksav Sofer wants to comment on this, and he says as follows. And it's a long piece, but we will do just a little bit of it. He says, Vayidaber Hashem Moshe B'midbar Sinai b'medrash b'gimel dvarim nitna Torah. As we said, with 3 things the Torah was given: b'mayim, ba'esh, of b'midbar, with water, with fire, and with midbar. V'nir l'farish kavanasa. And I want to explain what Chazal mean as follows: Shekol echad moreh al davar acher. Each one represents something else. Each one represents something significant. Nitna Torah b'mayim. The Torah was given in water. What does that mean? Lahoros. It's coming to teach us. Al she'amru Chazal, lama nimshal divrei Torah l'mayim. Why is the Torah compared to water? Chazal tell us that the Torah is compared to water. Water gives life. Torah gives life. But what's significant about water? Ma'mayim yordu mimakom gavoa lemakom namach. Just as water, gravity, water goes from above to the lowest point, it flows down. Kach divrei Torah manichim lemisha dato gvoalav v'hochem lemisha dato tfela. It tells us that those who, the Torah will not go to someone who is haughty, who's a show-off, but it will go to someone who is at the lower level, who symbolizes humility, who's very humble. And that's why the Torah, as Chazal tell us, was given on Har Sinai, Katan Shebaharim, the small mountain. The Torah will only exist on those people that are humble. And we know that the greatest Talmidei Chachamim of each generation were invariably very humble and very modest. And that was Moshe Rabbeinu, as the Torah will say in Parshas Bahaloscha Va'ish Moshe Anav Mikol Adam. That's what the Torah is. And that's why Chazal tell us that the Torah was given with water to teach us this idea. V'nitna ba'esh, and it was given in fire. Torah is often compared to fire. Why is that? Ki Torah nimshal esh, ki ner mitzvah the Torah or. As we know, the pasuk from Mishlei, ner mitzvah Torah or. Torah is light. Shemeira la'adam, it enlightens a person, it gives light to a person, and it shows him the proper path to walk. The Amru, Tachlis Chachma Tshuva Masam Tovim. And the purpose of Chachma, the purpose of wisdom is what? Tshuva and Masim Tovim, Umatzelos Mina Yetzahara. And someone who, Rahmanu Litzlan, doesn't take that message, so then that person, God forbid, will be burnt up in the fire. Okay? It can also burn and destroy a person, because someone, as he will say, who studies not for the proper purpose, okay? A person who studies not for the proper reason, who does the wrong thing, will get burnt by it, literally burnt by it. We'll skip down here. The pasuk says in Parshas Bracha, he came with a Torah which was Eish Das Lamo, a fiery, he was carrying it on his arm. Torah Shanasana Kadosh Baruch Hu Moshe Ksuva Eish Shechora Gabe Eish Levana. It was white fire on black fire. What's the concept here? He says Ki Torah be'atzmoseha, Torah by itself, in and of itself, no senes chayim v'atzlach l'adam. It gives life and it gives success to a person. V'zeh eish levona hameir. That's the white fire which enlightens. V'lovein ma'ar al tov atzlacha. And the white is good, it's success, it's positive. Al misha eno lomed al manas la'asos. But someone who Rahmana litzlan, who's not learning for the proper purpose, he's misusing the Torah that he's learned, he misapechas l'ra Rahmana litzlan. Chazal, as Chazal have told us, as it says, Zocha nasaloch samchayim. If a person is zocha, that means he's using Torah for the proper purposes, then Torah will become a samchayim, will be an elixir of life. Lo zocha, if he's not zocha, so Rahmana litzlan, it becomes a sam hamavis, it becomes a poison. The eish hasoref, eish shechora al gabe eish levana, and it's the fire that will burn. The white fire will be burnt up. The black fire will burn the white fire. Shayesodu eish levana. The foundation is the white fire. But if a person doesn't do the right thing, then the black fire will overcome that and literally burn that up. And then he concludes here saying, well, let's finish here. Because the Torah has the ability to enlighten and, God forbid, to burn. And that's the characteristics of fire. Fire gives us light, it enlightens us, it shows us what to do, but it could also be extremely destructive. And that's exactly what it means that the Torah was given in fire. Okay? And then finally, Umashakasav v'nasna Bamidbar, and that it says that it was given in the Midbar, Yeshlomar al da Shamru Chazal. This comes to teach us of what Chazal have taught us. Lo nitna haTorah la'ochlei aman. The Torah was given to those people who ate the man. She'ena mevakshim mosros rakadei la'achiyos navsham k'da'amru kachdarcha v'chulu pas b'melech, etc. The desert symbolizes just bare substance, to bare sustenance. We're existing with the minimal, right? As the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Kachi darcha shel Torah, this is the way of Torah. Pas b'melech tochal, we eat a piece of bread, a slice of bread with some salt, that's it. We need to subsist on the bare minimum. Gama Kadosh Baruch Hu mefarnes la'oskei Torah al das nes. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai v'chaveirav, as Chazal tell us, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his compatriots, his colleagues, v'chein b'chol zman on Rome, nisay Hashem yizbarach, shama mid machzikim ba, v'hainu midbar eretz lo zerua, mayayin yavo Ezra mimlo b'nes v'erachti. Again, the desert symbolizes the idea of absence of any pleasures or convenience of life, and therefore that the people should spend their time pursuing Torah knowledge and not the additional luxuries or other assets in life. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but the Torah is teaching us that a person should spend his time on the ruchnius and not on the gashmius, and that's the idea of the midbar. The Torah lists for us the Nesiim who were asked to help Moshe Rabbeinu in his count of the Jewish people. And at the beginning, the first Aliyah tells us that the names of the Nesiim that would assist Moshe. The Torah says, that each you have to have one man from each tribe, the leader, the Nasi of the tribe, and then the Torah lists for us the Shvatim and their Nesiim of their Shvatim. When we get to the tribe of when we get to the tribe of Shimon, we get to the Shimon, Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai. Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai is the Nasi of Shevet Shimon. Now the Gemara tells us in Sanhedrin, and to Medrash too, that Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai is really the same person that we will meet later on, again in Parshas Pinchas. Mentioned Parshas Pinchas a few times today in this year, and that will be the man by the name of Zimri. Who's Zimri? Zimri will be the person who will sin with the Moabite woman and will bring, unfortunately, a terrible Chilul Hashem to Klal Yisrael, and he'll be the one that Pinchas will ultimately slay in the story of at the beginning of Parshas Pinchas. In any event, it says here, L'Shimon Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai. Gimel Shemos Hayu Zimri. This man, Zimri, really had three names. Ve'eluhain. These are the names of Zimri. This one person was known by different names. Zimri ben Solu, as he is referred to later on in Sefer Bamidbar. V'Shaul ben Haknanis, and he's known by the name Shaul ben Haknanis. We'll get back to that shortly. Ushlumiel ben Suri Shaddai. These three names are one and the same person. Zimri, and the Gemara explains to us why he's called these names. Zimri Shanasa Alosa Midjanis Kebetza Muzeres Mirov Bilos, because of the terrible action that he did. He was known as Zimri. Ben Solu Shehisli Avami Mishpachto, and that he took away, he made a terrible name for his family. That's why he's called Zimri ben Salu. Shaul, why is he called Shaul? Shehishel atzmo la'avera, because he gave himself over for an avera. Ben Aknanis, he's known as Shaul ben Aknanis because he did a Canaanite action, what the Canaanim do. Umashmo, or what was his given name? What name did he have at his bris? Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai Shmo. Again, this is Medrash Tanchuma and Medrash Rabbah and Sanhedrin on Daf Pei Beis. Says the Oznaim L'Torah Rav Saratsky. Mekaven sheshmo ha'ikari haya Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai, since his given name was Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai, shar shemos hem kinuyim lo l'fi masav. Obviously, the names that he's given are nicknames, and they are reflective of his actions. Says Rav Saratsky, and he says, I want to understand this. Bishlama Zimri ben Salu kinu osa ben Israel achashiyatzel tar b'Yisrael. I understand why he's called Zimri ben Salu, because of the action that he did, and as we just explained before, Zimri ben Salu is indicative of the terrible action that he did with the Moabite girl. So that's why Klal Yisrael called him Achash Yatzol Tar B'Yisrael, when he went, as we would say in today's language, when he went off the derech. Shari b'shosha b'char Hashem bo lamod and Moshe v'Aaron when see him al minim b'nei Yisrael hayitzadik gomer kenemar krurei heida and see him atos avosom roshei alfei Yisrael heim. As the Torah says, when he was chosen to be the Nasi, he was a tzaddik gomer, and the Torah says we're only choosing these Nasiim were the cream of the crop. They were the tzaddikim of the nation. So Shlumiel ben Suri Shaddai must have been a tzaddik, and his name is only changed to Zimri later on. But at this point, he was in good graces, so to speak. V'isa b'psikta shahayu kulam tzaddikim. U'mefarshei haTorah beru shahayu chavrei Sanhedrin. Mefarshim tell us that he was a member of the Sanhedrin, so he wasn't a sinner at this time. But ultimately, Chatav Hechtias Arabim, B'nos Moab. He sinned and he caused others to sin with the B'nos Moab, Umijan, and with Midianite girls, the Chilas Hashem, and he caused the Chilas Hashem, as we said before. Because of these disgusting actions that he did, so we referred to him, we called him Zimri ben Salah. Where and when is he given this other name, Shaul ben Aknanis? Now, you might recall that the name Shaul Aknanis is listed back in Parshas Vayigash with the tribe of Shimon as one of those who descended down to Egypt with Yaakov and the Shvatim. Says Rav Sorotzkin, but wait a minute, it can't be the same guy. In Bnei Yisrael Achar Osa Maisa, Lama lo hiskira Torah sham gam eskinir hazeh. He says, if Klal Yisrael changed his name after, remember why he's called Shaul ben Aknanis, because he did a Maisa Kanan, as we learned up here on line 7. He did a Maisa Kanan, he did an Avera. Why wasn't he called that name then? Where's that name? That's found back in Sefer Breshis. The Ein Lomar Shazel also Shaul ben Aknanis ben Shimon Shanimna ben Abam Mitzrayim. He says it's not logical to think that this Shaul ben Aknanis is the same guy that we had back in Parshas Vayigash. Sharei Az Tarek Lomar Shechayosami 250 years. He'd be 250 years old. Redu b'Mitzrayim, that's, he came down to Mitzrayim. So the Jews were there for 210 years. Umem Bamidbar, now 40 years in the desert. So you're talking about 250 years. Sharei Nizka b'Parshas Pinchas. Shaul ben Aknanis is listed in Parshas Pinchas. So this same guy is 250 years old. The Eich Nishar Chaim Messiah Midbar. And how could he be? And even if you're going to say that he lived a very long time, we know that the generation all died out. There were only 2 people who survived from Yitzias Mitzrayim till year 40, and that was Kalev and Yoshua. So it couldn't be Shaul HaKnanis, the same guy from way back in Parshas Vayigash. So listen to what he says. So he quotes the Marzu and the Medrash Rabbah, wants to give an answer. Shahaya Dor Dalal Shaul ben Aknanis ben Shimon v'Nikra Shem Zikena. So the Marzu wants to say that he was named after his Elter Zayde, his great-grandfather. Vim Kedvarv Kasha. Okay? But if that's true, that he's named after his grandfather, then what's the pshat in the Gemara? So then he's not named after his grandfather, because his real name was Shlumi Aban Tzuri Shaddai, as the Gemara said. And Shaul ben Aknanis was just a nickname. It's what he was called. So don't tell me he's named after his grandfather, that Shaul ben Aknanis is his grandfather. So says Rav Sorotzkin, Vanir Bezeh. So he says, I'm going to tell you pshat. Vanir Bezeh, Sheshmo haya Shlumi ben Tzuri Shaddai. That was his name, Shlumi ben Tzuri Shaddai. When he was a tzaddik, that was his given name, and he was a tzaddik, and he was known as Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shaddai. When he started to go off the derech, he himself felt a need to change his name. Why? What's his name? Shlumiel ben Tzuri Shaddai. He has the name of Hashem in his name. Shlumiel, Kel, is part of Hashem's name. Tzuri Shaddai, Shindal Yud Shakai, is part of Hashem's name. He's carrying Hashem's name in him, and he's acting in a way which was not indicative of somebody who's a reflection of Hashem. Tzuri Shaddai, Shlumiel. He's not acting in the proper frame. So he says here, Lo Yosha Be'einav Shem Harisa Shalo V'Shem Aviv. The name he was given in the cradle, his given birth name, was not, he didn't feel good having that name. Sheyesh Ba'ahem Shituf Shem Shemayim. V'amad, and what did he do? Shina Shemo V'Shem Aviv. He changed his name. He took the name that he was given and he changed it to a name which would be more conducive to who he was. Think about all the Jews who got off the boat and changed their names because they didn't want to have sounding Jewish names. Think of that. Kirk Douglas was Isser Danilovich. Just first thing that came to my mind. And there are other names that we know of people who changed their names because they didn't want to sound Jewish. Shaul Avera ben Aknanis Lazos Masa Kanan. McCaven Shashina Shemo. Once he changed his name, it wasn't only that he had to change his driver's license and his passport, but it changed him. Ne'apach le'ish acher, v'nitfas l'satan lios chotei u'machtias arabim. He started changing his name from Shlumiel ben Sari Shaddai to Shaul ben Aknanis. Ultimately, he becomes Zimri ben Solo, somebody who has denigrated himself in such a terrible, awful fashion. Tremendous lesson here, says Rav Sorotsky. Shahayehudi, a Jew, Hamashana Shmo v'Shem Avosav l'Shmos HaGoyim, who changes his name and his father's name to the name of the Goyim, who wants to be known by a non-Jewish name. He's going on the wrong path. He's going to end up, if you don't want to be known by a Jewish name, it's going to end up harming you and your children, ultimately in a way far greater than just a name change. The Zeu Tam, and that's the reason that Chazal tell us, Shaloshinu Ashmosam, that when the Jews came down to Mitzrayim, one of the things that they didn't change when they came to Mitzrayim, we know one was language and one was clothing. Another one was they didn't change their names. Ha'amar B'golos Mitzrayim, why not? She'ilu Shinu, if they would have changed the names, Hayanishka'im Nun Shari Tuma. They would have been down in the 50th level of Tuma, and they never would have gotten out. And therefore, they kept the names that they were given, the Jewish names they were given by their ancestors in Eretz Yisrael, and they made sure they only were known by Jewish names. By changing the name, they would become a different person. And finally, today's shiur, we're going to do something which has to do with Shavuos a little bit. The Gemara tells us in Maseches Megillah, Gemara here says, Tanya B'Shimon ben Elazar Amir, Ezra Tikein Lahem LiYisrael She'Yikorin Klol Shebatoras Kohanim Kodem Atzeres V'Shebamishna Torah Kodem Rosh Hashanah. Ezra, who was made many takanos, especially about Kriyas HaTorah, made a takana that we would read the curses of Torah's Kohanim. We mentioned at the beginning of the year, Torah's Kohanim is Sefer Vayikra. Last Shabbos, Parshas B'Chukosav, we read the Tochacha. So Ezra established that we would read the Tochacha before Atzeres, before Shavuos, Mishnah Torah Kodem Rosh Hashanah, and we'd read the other Tochacha in Parshas Kisavo before Rosh Hashanah. So the Gemara says, my taima, what's the reason that Ezra established this? Amar Abaye tells us, V'tema Reish Lakish, others say it wasn't Abaye who gave this answer, but it was Reish Lakish, Kadesh Tichla Hashana V'Killo Seha. Famous phrase that the year should end and its curses. Let's get all the curses out of the way. The year's over and that's finished. So the Gemara says, Mishnah Torah, we understand the curses that we have in Parshas Kisavo, the Tochacha of Parshas Kisavo in end of Sefer Dvarim, Ika Kadesh Tichla Shana V'Kil Loseh. So that's right, Rosh Hashanah time. So the year's going to be over in a couple days, in a week or two. So we get the curses out of the way, and we start the year afresh. We start the year new. Says the Gemara, Elish B'Toras Kohanim Matu Atzeres Rosh Hashanah. But what Rosh Hashanah are we talking about here in Shavuos time? That we say Tichla Shana V'Kil Loseh, that the year should be finished and its curses should go away. The Gemara says it is Atzeres Nami Rosh Hashanah. Atzeres Shavuos is also referred to as a Rosh Hashanah, as the Mishnah says in Maseches Rosh Hashanah. The Mishnah says, Atzeres al Peras Ha'ila. We are judged on the fruits of the tree on Shavuos. Shavuos, Chag HaBikurim, is the time in the year that HaKadosh Baruch Hu judges us for the coming year for the fruits of the tree, and therefore this is a Rosh Hashanah as well, and therefore we want the year, the klolos, to end before the new year begins. The new year of fruits begins on Rosh Peiros Elam, fruits of the tree begin on Shavuos, and therefore we get the curses out of the way. We read that on Parshas Bechukosai. Tosfos discusses this, and Tosfos is concerned with the fact that the year was over, that Parshas Kisavo, Tosfos has a discussion here that there are always more than one Shabbos between Kisavo and Rosh Hashanah. And as you know, that we have Parshas Bamidbar, which interrupts us between Parshas Bechukosai and Shavuos. Says Tosfos here, we'll start right here. He says, "V'nirali hatam she'anu mechalkin osan lefi she'anu rotzim lahafsik." This is not underlined here. It's the line above the underline. Lefi she'anu rotzim lahafsik ulikros Shabbos achas kodem Rosh Hashanah b'parsha. We want to have an interruption between one Shabbos before Rosh Hashanah b'parsha. Shelo tehei medaberes b'klolos klal. Elo lahasmich aklolos Rosh Shelo lahasmich aklolos Rosh Hashanah. We want to have a break. So we're going to say the curses, and then we'll have a break before Rosh Hashanah happens. And then he says, "Umitam zeh ana karm b'midbar Sinai kodem atzeres kedei shelo lahasmich haklolos shebechukos elatzeres," which is exactly the same thing. We have a week in between Shavuos and Bamidbar interrupts between Shavuos and the klolos of Parshas Bechukosai. Rav Moshe Feinstein makes a very interesting comment in Sefer Drash Moshe. He says, he quotes the Tosfos, "Shesidru likro Bamidbar kodem Shavuos kedei shelo lahasmich haklolos shebechukosai latzeres shedanim al peres ila." He says we want to have a break between Bechukosai and Shavuos, which talks about which is the Rosh Hashanah for the fruits of the tree. Says Rav Moshe, "V'nira sheyesh leparshas Bamidbar shaychus gadol l'Shavuos." He says, despite that, I want to tell you that Shabbos Parshas Bamidbar has a very deep connection in and of itself to the Yom Tov of Shavuos. And what does he say? He says, "Shula hotzi me'ela." It's to negate that idea. Shemisrashlim lilmod. People are very reluctant to learn well. What do I do if I learn? I'm never going to be a Talmud Chacham. I'm never going to be a Gadol. I'll read a little bit. I'll study a little bit. But I'm never going to be able to be successful in learning. He says that's not what a person should think. And he says, I've already explained that way back in Shmos Lamed Yud Beis, way back in Parshas Kisisa. I explained that where it says Kisisa is Rosh B'nai Yisrael. We have to raise the heads of Klal Yisrael when they gave the shekel, for the Chatzi shekel. For what purpose? They gave it to be counted. He says, listen to what Moshe says, Shema shenemar inyan haminyan b'lashon su'u. Why is the counting, the census, used a word su'u to raise up? Why is that word used as it is also used here in Parshas Bamidbar, as it's used kisisa es rosh? He says, Shebazem misnasim kolechem mimadregaso berosa shu shove limnos ba'oso mispar mamash shagado. That everybody's equal. We raise everybody up. Everybody's a chatzi shekel. Everybody's equal. Here, we raise everybody's head up. We're all individuals. Sheshneim nimdim rak le'echad. Each chatzi shekel has to be combined with another chatzi shekel to be one unit. Im kain gam hu yachol lavol madregula gedola. I can also raise myself up. Nobody's greater than me. Everybody's equal. We're all half shekel. We all are on the same level. We're all counted equally. Nobody's more important than anybody else. Ulachein, therefore, kodem Shavuos, before the Yom Tov of Shavuos, the Yom Tov that we celebrate Matan Torah, Tzarech likro Parshas Bamidbar. That's why Bamidbar has to come before Shavuos. Forget the Klaus. That was last week. But Parshas Bamidbar is indicative of Shavuos. Why? Shehu Parshas HaPekudim Shenemar B'Lashon Nesius. It's the Shabbos of census, as we began with the Netziv. It's the Shabbos that we get counted. It's the Shabbos that Klal Yisrael is counted, where we are raised up. Because we all can accept the Torah. We're all on equal footing. We're all on equal ground. We're all equal to one another, and we all are makabel the Torah, the Ava, with love and with the proper frame of mind, le'ulalamda, and to learn it and to accept it and to appreciate the Torah. We're all equal, we're all the same, and nobody's greater than anyone else.